And if we mess up, we can always start again.
Okay.
Okay. Well, hello.
Good morning.
How are you on this last day before break?
Good.
Yay.
Ready for break.
Did you fill up on a donut or a bagel?
I had a donut.
Did you have a whole or a halvesies? Or
I had
halvesies?
I had a whole donut.
What's your fave from what was out there?
Chocolate with custard. What's your favorite?
I like the apple fritters.
I like those too. That's
so
my
I
number
was
2.
halvesy that, and
Okay.
then I had, I think it was just a plain one, but had a little chocolate drizzle on it.
Okay.
I did notice the chocolate ones went really fast, so I think that needs to be more of those and less of the other ones. The Long Johns with the sprinkles.
Sprinkles get too messy. For
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Well, and I feel like I'm eating a kid donut
Yeah.
versus an adult donut.
That's true. They're cute, but I always find sprinkles everywhere.
Right. Kind of like glitter.
Yes.
So we had talked a few days ago
Yep.
about thinking of a topic to chat about today.
Yep.
And so you had decided to talk a little bit about your friend that parents have decided to move to another class.
Yep.
And so how do you think that whole transition went when the parents decided that a move was necessary?
It was abrupt for me. I had been talking a lot with the mom, particularly email and phone calls, and I thought that we had a pretty good relationship when he switched into my classroom at the beginning of second try with the split dissolving and me taking 4th grade. She came in one morning before school. She had wanted to meet with me.
Oh, okay.
So I did meet with her in person. And then she just had some concerns about him focusing and ADHD and the friends that he had in this class. And the group of friends that he has are kids that live in the neighborhood, so she knows a lot of them.
Okay.
And there are some in that class and some in mine. So she just wanted to let me know about some of the things, with them, and wanted to make new friends and branch out a little bit, which was fine. But I felt like we started off well. He was doing fine in my class. Whenever I had any issues, I would email her or call her. For something bigger, I'd call. And when they took him off his medication for ADHD, we had some conversations around that. So I thought things were okay, and then she had sent an email. I tried to call her because I think it's better if there are sensitive things or you don't want anything to get misinterpreted.
Yeah.
You call.
Yep.
But she didn't answer. I left a message, sent her sent her an email to follow up the next day, and she said, "Nope, I don't want an email, or I don't want a phone call. I want an email. I want my husband copied on it. And I want it tomorrow. I don't have any more time to wait." So I understood that she was she wanted to drag it out, and that's totally fine. So I talked with Candy because I wanted to make sure that I said things in a way where things didn't get misinterpreted. But I only did that because I know that there's been a lot of communication between her and Candy and with me regarding the switch. So I still didn't think there was like a big issue. I just didn't want to overwhelm her with a laundry list of things.
Sure, right.
That was more my approach. And I know that Candy's had some interactions with her as well. So that was really my only thing. I wasn't concerned about it, but I also wanted to let Candy know in case she followed up with her.
Okay.
And as soon as I sent the email, she contacted Candy within 30 minutes needing a meeting. And she never responded to me. So that was on a Friday. So that kind of bothered me that she didn't say anything to me, but she demanded a meeting with Candy for Monday. They either met Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember which day Candy met with them. But after the weekend, so the weekend I felt kind of unsettled because I just didn't know what the topic was. And she still hadn't responded to me, but I still didn't think it was to the point of where they were, like where their headspace was.
Right.
So that was kind of frustrating because it's not that I need to like defend myself or anything like that, but I just felt like we had a good relationship. I thought that we did. And so that was just frustrating that she couldn't say anything to me about it.
Right.
And then from there it just escalated that next week. And when they came in at that meeting, they said they wanted him moved out of my classroom. And I just felt like whatever I said in that email, I just think it was maybe misinterpreted because Candy read it and said that it was fine, but I'm just not sure how we went from like 0 to 60 so quickly.
Right.
And they asked for honest feedback about him being off his medication, which I gave, and it was very difficult for him to complete work, and he was very impulsive, and I think those are things that they should know, even if it's a hard truth. But I felt like I had a relationship with them, so I think that was the hard part. And then Candy, was like, no, I'm not moving him. We've already had so much movement. We really just need him to stay.
Right.
So then I felt pretty confident that he was going to stay in my classroom, but then he did not come to school at the end of the week, and then he went back on Monday to the other class. So it was no closure, and it was for him, for me, for anyone in our classroom. And I think that it was the hardest on him, because then on Monday, when the students came in and they said, where is he? Did he go back to the other classroom? And the kids said, did he go back to his other classroom? And I said, yes. Oh yeah, my mom told me that over the weekend.
Oh.
So I knew that people had been talking, so then it was still like, okay, what's out there in the universe?
Yep.
And there was another kid who was in the other 4th grade class, not in mine or the class he went back to, who said, oh, he didn't like you. Came and told me he didn't like you. So I just know that he's talking about it. I know the parents were talking about it. And so that was hard. Just because my class has had so many changes this year. And I feel like, we've settled, and that's really hard when someone moves again. And I was very concerned about kids in my class who got moved into my class for 2nd trimester, thinking, wait, am I gonna move? Because we haven't talked about it at all. Or I didn't want them also thinking, if I could go, would I? I don't even want them to think about that. I just want them to be settled. I don't want them to think that anyone chose to send or take or move. I just want it to be. And so it's very hard when they're like, well, why? And just say, that's what had to happen. Adults had to make some decisions. That's what Candy said to say, and they're gonna fill in the gaps however they want. But so that's the hardest part of it, is just not that I can't really say much. And I mean, I wouldn't, even if someone's like, yeah, you can tell them, I wouldn't, like, that's not appropriate for them to know. But it's hard because I know they're filling in gaps, and I can't say anything. And I try to be pretty open with my class. Yes, because like even when we did the first change, I was like, I want to be the one to tell them, which I did. And then I said, if you have questions, make sure you ask. And they didn't right away, but every day I would say, okay, do you have questions? And they would, some of them were kind of silly, like, do we have to start over on our reading log? But it's good to know what they're thinking. What are their concerns?
Those are kid questions.
What are you concerned about? Or they would say like, do I still get a birthday prize on my birthday? but I want to know what they're thinking. And so with this, I haven't really asked. Right, because I don't really have an answer. So like
it's a tricky
I
spot.
feel like I've been this year trying to be very open with them. And now I'm just like, no questions, no comments. And that's kind of hard because I don't feel like that's who I want to be. I feel like it was somewhat anticlimactic after that first week. They haven't really said much this week about it. That's because that was last.
It was like
last Tuesday. Yes, last Tuesday that he went into the class. Yes.
Do you mind if I do a quick paraphrase of?
Go ahead. Sorry. Yes, I know. I just.
No. There's that's a lot.
Okay,
it's a lot. So what I'm hearing you say, or what you're sharing, is that you had thought from the beginning you had a fairly good relationship with this parent. The mom had been communicating with you. You met with her. You were making it intentional to have phone conversations versus email to make it more personal. And you thought everything was okay. At the same time, the parents were asking for feedback because they did this change in medication, and so you were trying to give them honest, true feedback about what you're seeing in the classroom. And then there was a demand for an email, which you were a little leery about doing because that's written word on a paper. And with that kind of sent everything skyrocketing, and communication with principal and meeting, and real fast he was taken out and put into another room. And then now that the fallout of that is what you're dealing with now, which is you're wondering, how do you talk to the kids about it? Because it's almost like it's a taboo type of a thing, where in the past, all of the things you've been really transparent and open and honest with them about what's going on, and now you're kind of feeling like it's really not safe for you to say or ask anything of the students.
Definitely.
So, anything else? I just wanted to paraphrase before we got too far into it.
I mean, I've seen him a few times and waved to him and said hi, and it's been fine, and he seems fine. And I think a lot of it, this is my own thinking, but I think it was more the parent than the kid who really wanted it, which is unfortunate because I don't know if it was best for him to move back again.
Right.
That's a lot for him.
A lot of transition.
And a lot of questions for him to answer.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's unfortunate, but I hope that I've talked to his teacher, and he was pretty quiet at the beginning when he moved back in. I mean, that's probably kind of a weird situation to be in.
Right.
But I mean, as far as I know, it's been okay. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. So
I mean,
your other concern is just that how he's feeling about all of this and the implications for him and
but I don't really feel like I can reach out. Like I feel like then if he goes home and says that, oh, she stopped me in the hallway, like that, I don't want to have anything come back on that.
It's almost as though you can't really.
So I've just said hi, I've waved when I see him, and that's, I just smile like, I would to any other student that I used to have.
Yep. Oh, it's been really hard. It's been a really hard situation. So for your class that's remaining, I mean, I guess they're your foremost concern. You've got him as a concern on the outside, but you're putting up a lot of boundaries there to keep yourself safe, which is really important to do. So what are some things that you are putting in place to make it go well with the other kids in here that you are feeling good about, maybe?
I think just keeping things as similar as possible and not making a huge deal about it and not talking about any other big changes coming. I mean, I don't think there will be any other changes, but just kind of going on as we were. And from there, I've noticed that some of the kids in the class, they move around at lunch. So I've noticed when I go pick them up, sometimes they're sitting with him, sometimes they aren't.
Oh, okay.
So I think that they're still friends, which is great. I haven't really heard a lot. I know because his behaviors had escalated a lot towards the end of the year, I think some of the kids were actually relieved, or not the end of the year, the end of his time with us, because he was getting so impulsive. So I think some of them were actually a little relieved, and they didn't express that out loud, but we have our reading groups. I had a printout of it, and someone took a pencil and aggressively scratched his name out on it.
Interesting.
And I happened to notice that, and I didn't say anything, but I took it down because we're doing new groups for try 3. But that was a pretty good nonverbal clue that there are some feelings. So, and I don't really want the negative feelings either. Like I don't want to celebrate he's gone. I don't want to. So I just kind of moved on, didn't acknowledge. I don't know if they know that I saw it or not, but I just took the list down, and there we go. New groups. Because we need new groups, not because anyone left, but because it's a new trimester and we're starting with a new, people have moved levels. That's kind of how I
take advantage of the time change. For sure. Oh, it's just such a tricky spot to be in where you can't really feel safe to talk about it at all with them, really. So what learning or learnings do you want to take away from this for future situations, like moving forward?
I think I did a good job of reaching out to people that I needed to, like my mentor, Candy. So I actually think I handled it pretty well. I did not take this as personally as I have a lot of other things that maybe weren't even as quite severe in the past, but I felt very supported in that, and so that makes me feel good going forward. And because there were so many concerns and the issues got so escalated even above Candy, that she asked for all my communication with them. So I sent her all of our email communication, and just reviewing it, because I had forgotten about some of the things that we had talked about and some of the things that she said, like at the beginning of him being in my class. I sent her one hey, I kept his Chromebook because he hasn't been charging it. And she said, thank you so much, we're trying to teach you responsibility. Yet that happened again right before he left my class, and I don't let her know, and her response was, you should be sending that home. He needs to have that every night. So things had clearly switched. But it was interesting to see that. And how some of her own attitudes had changed. But so that kind of cleared that up for me too. I don't even think this is about me. I think there's more going on here. And either they need someone to blame or, there's something else because her attitude changed so much between December and February, which is not a long time. But I felt supported, and having other people read the emails and say, yeah, I don't see any issues here, because I just feel when things like that happen, like, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Because you're not giving me a chance to clear it up. So that makes me very self-conscious in the future to send emails. But Candy said, nope, your emails were great. I really liked the way you worded a lot of these things, because she hadn't seen a lot of them. But then her looking them over, she's like, no, you did a great job. I have no issue, that there's no issues with any of them. So that made me still feel confident in how I communicate with parents, especially because conferences were right after that. I was just, and I know that some of those parents were talking, so I was a little nervous about that. And that makes me want to like kind of hold back a little bit sometimes. But because she said, nope, I think everything's good. So just going forward, continue communicating, continue trying to call if it's something that should be a phone call rather than an email, which is anything like, super personal or might be sensitive or taken the wrong way through email. But I think just leaning on others and, like I looped in my mentor, looped in Candy, talked to you about it, just making sure that I reach out for those things so that it doesn't affect me personally in a negative way, like so that I can continue doing my job.
Exactly.
So I think that's the biggest thing, is just can keep doing that.
So you really found, looking through that, your emails were appropriate. Candy gave you also the feedback, your emails were appropriate. Your mentor was helping you, Candy was giving you feedback. We talked a few times about it. You felt supported.
Because it's so hard when you don't get a reason and you're looking for that reason. But I had enough reflection in those emails to say, I don't think there's much else I can do here to look for an answer. I don't know that there is one. And then I can kind of let it go, I guess.
And you're trying not to take it personally, and it's like an attack on you, but rather something happened with the parents, whatever that was, wasn't clear what that was. And
but I can't keep guessing.
And
that's going to drive me crazy.
You gotta, like you just said, you gotta be able to teach the next day with your kids.
Well, and because he was in the classroom still for part of that, so being careful about that as well.
So if there are there any ways that you might bring back anything into your teaching or your planning or your communication, or anything that you would, from this experience, modify, change, alter, or like what would you, or maybe there isn't anything?
I don't think so. I mean, I think again, a lot of this was out of my control, Candy's control, with switching in the classroom, like that's really hard. So I think the only thing would be, I mean, if I would hope it would never happen, but I would bring this up if there was ever a classroom switch again. Like, this is how hard it was for me, the kids, the parents. A trimester later, people were still reeling from this, and maybe she didn't have the space that she needed to get some of her concern. I mean, I gave her time, but maybe that wasn't enough. Maybe I thought she had processed it and she hadn't.
Sure.
So I think that's the only thing. If people are like, oh, not a big deal, it is a big deal. And I think I would use this as a point to...
knowing how difficult this change was and how many things are affected that you might do.
And
maybe more timing.
But
like you said, maybe it was just too short of a window for people to adjust to that change. Well, thanks for sharing all that. It's a lot of heavy stuff. And you're taking it really well. So, from our conversation just this morning, what's your biggest takeaway?
That I still had some feelings about it, because I kind of talked for a long time. I mean, like, there's kind of been pieces here and there, and I'm just, trying to do my best with it. I really have tried to let a lot of it go, but it does still affect me because I see him, and then some of the specialist teachers have asked, like, oh, why did he move? Because they didn't get a lot of context. And so it's hard to know, like, should I joke about it? Like, oh, yeah, you didn't like me. Or, how do I even address that? So, and I don't want it to be a secret, because then again, adults fill in the gaps with something.
So true.
Or they talk, or whatever. So just trying to, there's this, has been a weird year. And that's, he had to go back and whatever. So
simple things. Simple explanation. Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk about it. I hope that, And you know, I feel like the more times tell a story,
Yeah.
the less
Yeah.
it's in,
Yes,
you
I
know,
agree.
so
I agree. I like getting it
personal.
out. Yeah.
Just having a chance to talk about it again. So.
Yes.
And it's just going to be tricky
Yes.
the rest of the year. But
Yeah.
like, it seems like you found a good way, which is just hi and
Yes.
greeting in the hallway, and that's it.
Yep.
And that's a safe space. So.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.